Stop saying, if I would know his number, I would call him. Here are 3 common mistakes you must avoid. Transportation. Incorrect. If I would have a car, I would drive to work. Correct. If I had a car, I would drive to work. Language skills. Incorrect. If I would speak English perfectly, I would get a better job. Correct. If I spoke English perfectly, I would get a better job. Money, finance. Incorrect. If I would be rich, I would buy a house. Correct. If I were rich, I would buy a house. Time management. Incorrect. If I would have more time, I would exercise. Correct. If I had more time, I would exercise. Location. Incorrect. If I would live in New York, I would visit museums. Correct. If I lived in New York, I would visit museums. Physical appearance. Incorrect. If I would be taller, I would play basketball. Correct. If I were taller, I would play basketball. Weather preferences. Incorrect. If it would be warmer, we would have a picnic. Correct. If it were warmer, we would have a picnic. Technology. Incorrect. If I would understand computers, I would fix this myself. Correct. If I understood computers, I would fix this myself. Food cooking. Incorrect. If I would know this recipe, I would make it tonight. Correct. If I knew this recipe, I would make it tonight. Incorrect. If I would have experience in marketing, I would apply for that position. Correct. If I had experience in marketing, I would apply for that position. Alternative. I wish I had experience in marketing. Incorrect. If I would be more confident, I would ask her out. Correct. If I were more confident, I would ask her out. Alternative. I wish I were more confident. Incorrect. If I would have studied harder, I would have passed the exam. Correct. If I had studied harder, I would have passed the exam. Alternative. I wish I had studied harder. Incorrect. If I would be in better shape, I would run a marathon. Correct. If I were in better shape, I would run a marathon. Alternative. I wish I were in better shape.
Stop saying, if I would know his number, I would call him. This sounds like a beginner mistake. Native speakers never say this. Let me show you what they actually say and why it matters. I hear these mistakes all the time. If I would know, if I would have, if I would be. These sound incorrect to native speakers and instantly mark you as a learner. But the good news is, there's a simple pattern you can master. Here's the golden rule. If plus past simple, then would plus base verb. For example, if I knew his number, I would call him. If I had time, I would help you. If I were rich, I would travel the world. Notice, we never use would right after if. The word would already shows that the situation is imaginary. The if part must stay in the past simple. Now let's go a step further. When you want to express a regret about the present, use the verb wish, and again, use the past simple. For example, I wish I knew his number. I wish I had more time. I wish it weren't so cold today. These sentences are not about the past. They describe something that is not true right now. So again, we use the past form to talk about a present regret. Let's imagine you're in a job interview. You want to sound confident and fluent. Don't say, if I would have experience, I would be perfect for this job. Instead, say, if I had more experience, I would be perfect for this job. Or, I wish I had more experience in this area. Now picture a social situation. You're at a party and you feel uncomfortable. Don't say, if I would know more people here, I would feel better. Say, if I knew more people here, I would feel more comfortable. Or, I wish I knew more people here. Let's try a weather example. Don't say, if it would be sunny, we would go to the beach. Say, if it were sunny, we would go to the beach. Or, I wish it were sunny today. Even though it is singular, we still say were. That's the correct form in this pattern. Here's a simple way to remember it. If and wish do not go with would. They prefer the past simple. If I knew, I wish I had, if it were. Just remember this. If and wish hate would. They prefer the past. Now let's practice. Correct these sentences. If I would speak Chinese becomes, if I spoke Chinese, I would travel to Beijing. I wish I would have a car becomes, I wish I had a car. If it would rain tomorrow becomes, if it rained tomorrow, we would stay inside. Now let's combine both patterns. I wish I knew how to cook. If I knew how to cook, I would make dinner every night instead of ordering takeout. That sounds completely natural and fluent. Here are 3 common mistakes you must avoid. If I would know. Should be, if I knew. I wish I would have. Should be, I wish I had. If I would be you. Should be, if I were you. Master these and your English will sound much more natural and confident. If this video helped you understand this tricky pattern, give it a like and subscribe for more real English. And now, go watch my video, Don't Say I Don't Know. It will completely change how you speak English. See you there.
So let's dive into correcting those common mistakes with conditionals in English. You know, when people say, if I would know his number, I would call him. That's just not how native speakers do it.
Yep, it immediately marks you as a learner, right? What are the key rule and pattern they've outlined?
Exactly. The golden rule here is pretty simple. You use if plus the past simple, and then you go with would plus the base verb. So instead of saying, if I would know his number, you say, if I knew his number, I would call him. It's like a 2-part system where the if clause sets the stage in past form to indicate something imaginary.
Yeah, and I've noticed that this pattern isn't just limited to one scenario. They break it down in various contexts, like transportation, language skills, money, and even weather examples.
Totally. For instance, saying, if I had a car, I would drive to work is spot on, and alternatively, you can just say, I wish I had a car. It really smooths out the conversation.
That's true. And it's interesting that even in different topics, whether you're talking about speaking English perfectly for a better job, or even about living in a cool city, the same structure applies.
Exactly. It's like a universal law in English, if and
Right, I
wish
see that.
never hang with would. For example, if I spoke English perfectly, I would get a better job is the way to go, not if I would speak English perfectly.
Right. And then when we talk about expressing regrets about the present, you use wish with the past simple. So instead of saying something like, I wish I would have patience, you say, I wish I had more patience.
Yes, spot on. It's really a case of using the past simple to convey that the situation is merely hypothetical, kind of speaking in the language of what isn't true right now. And this applies even when conditions are clearly expressing unreal situations.
Now that you mention it, even with the weather examples, when you want to, say, express a desire for better weather, you'd say, if it were sunny, we would go to the beach. Or, I wish it were sunny today.
Exactly. Even though it is singular, we stick to were in these imaginary contexts. It's like, if and wish hate would, they just don't pair. This rule
I'm following.
It's really a neat trick to sound much more natural.
Absolutely. And I love how they provided concrete examples across so many categories, from transportation to relationships. Like, if I were more confident, I would ask her out, versus the incorrect, if I would be more confident.
Right. And the thing is, the structure remains consistent regardless of the subject matter. For your career, say, instead of, if I would have experience in marketing, you simply say, if I had experience in marketing, or I wish I had experience in marketing. It really does streamline how you express personal
that's the idea.
hypotheticals.
I'm curious, though, don't you think sometimes it might seem too rigid? I mean, language is fluid and adjustments happen over time.
That's a fair point. But actually, in formal usage, This pattern is crucial. I mean, um, if you if you start mixing would with the if clause, it instantly makes you sound non-native.
Right, right.
Even if language evolves, these patterns still hold as a mark of fluency.
True, that precision is what differentiates a learner from a fluent speaker. And when you're in high-stakes situations, like a job interview, you definitely want to sound confident.
Exactly. Imagine you're trying to impress in an interview. Instead of saying, if I would have more experience, I would be perfect for the job, you say, if I had more experience, I would be perfect for the job. It just resonates so much better.
And that applies even to more casual settings, say at a party. Not, if I would know more people, I would feel comfortable, but if I knew more people, I would feel more comfortable. Really changes the impression, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And then there are, more nuanced cases. Take, for example, location, talking about New York. Instead of, if I would live in New York, I would visit museums, you use, if I lived in New York, I would visit museums. Or simply, I wish I lived in New York. It all boils down to that same rule.
Exactly. It's interesting because you see this repeated across technology, food, sports. Even saying, if I would know this recipe, I would make it tonight, is simply off. Versus, if I knew this recipe, I would, make it tonight.
Correct. And what's particularly clever is how they summarize it with, if and wish hate would, they prefer the past. I mean, it's like a catchphrase, a mnemonic that sticks in your mind. It's memorable and
Yeah,
so
I like
helpful
that.
for language learners.
Right. That mnemonic really does simplify things. Now, let's talk about some examples within relationships. Instead of, if I would be more confident, I would ask her out, you say, if I were more confident, I would ask her out. And that tiny change makes all the difference.
Absolutely. It's it's like fine-tuning your language for fluency. And here's another. Instead of I wish I would have a car, the proper version is I wish I had a car. Simple, clear, and unmistakably correct. It's all about practicing the right patterns.
And what's really cool is that these corrections apply to so many areas: time management, education, health, even hobbies. Whether you're talking about having more time to exercise or wishing you had more musical talent, it's the same underlying rule.
Exactly. Let me throw in another example. Instead of if I would live in New York, you have if I lived in New York. And then you might add, I wish I lived in New York. So there's this neat alternative structure that reinforces the rule.
Right, I see it. Now, I do have one little critique, though. Sometimes I feel like natural, casual speech might bend these rules a bit, depending on the context or even regional variations.
I get what you mean, but in standard, formal, and even most everyday conversations, sticking to the past, simple with if and wish, is definitely
Yeah,
the way
that
to
makes
sound
sense.
natural. It's more about being intentional with your speech.
Absolutely. And it's especially important for learners who want to boost their confidence in English speaking and writing. When you're sure of your structure, you can focus more on fluid conversation.
Exactly. And honestly, once you master it, you pretty much never have to second guess your phrasing. Just remember, if I knew, I wish I had. If it were, and avoid that would right after if or
Yep.
wish. It's like using a reliable tool in your language toolbox.
For sure. And when you correct those mistakes, like replacing if I would speak English with if I spoke English, it not only makes you sound fluent, but it also prevents miscommunication.
Absolutely, clarity is key. And this whole framework applies across contexts. Even when talking about, say, business decisions like, if I had enough capital, I would start my own business. Or in education, if I had studied harder, I would have passed the exam. It's a robust rule with a ton of real-world applications.
Exactly. Right. And it's pretty interesting how the video even uses everyday examples like cooking, social situations, and weather to highlight these points. It makes the abstract grammar rules feel really practical and relatable.
You bet. It's like they're saying, Master these patterns and your English will sound much more confident and natural. Whether you're in a formal interview or just chatting at a party, these corrections give you that native-like touch.
Yeah, that's so true. I appreciate how they clearly list common mistakes and their corrected versions. It, gives learners something concrete to practice on, like, if I would know, I wish I would have. If I would be you, become, if I knew, I wish I had, and if I were you.
Absolutely. And that clear breakdown across 17 or more different contexts, from transportation to family and social situations, really reinforces that pattern.
Indeed.
It's a comprehensive guide to avoid those beginner missteps.
And it's like a gentle yet impactful reminder that small tweaks in grammar can transform your entire tone and fluency.
Exactly. It's one of those things where once you internalize it, you don't even have to think twice. It just becomes natural. Like in your head, it's already set in stone. If takes the past simple and would should be reserved for the result clause.
Right on, right on. This discussion really opens up a lot of conversation on how nuanced English can be. And it's especially valuable for anyone aiming to sound more native and confident.
For sure. And the takeaway is clear. Practice these conversions, apply them in everyday conversation, and soon enough, you'll find that your English sounds much smoother and more natural.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that was an enlightening chat. Thanks for breaking down these tricky patterns and giving us such clear examples to work with.
Anytime. So keep practicing those patterns and keep pushing your language skills forward. Catch you next time.